that bottle of wine!
You are listening to the Columbia Network's presentation of Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater in Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. We pause a moment now for station identification.
You're listening to the Wayback Machine on Gulf Islands Radio.
If it is true, and when our day does come, I hope for her sake destiny will keep her husband out of France.
Her husband's destiny will take him where he is to go, and will lead him to the end that is to end him. That is all I know.
Madame Defarge sits there knitting names into a scarf. Noble names. Lausanne, Lamballe, Guise, Saint-Evremont. Darkness is closing around. And then comes the ringing of the church bell. She sits knitting. Now the darkness is closing in, when the church bells will soon be melted into thunder cannon, when the drum shall be beating to drown a wretched voice. And Madame Defarge, at the foot of a structure yet unbuilt, will sit knitting, counting dropping heads. London, 1789. Never did I see two people more united than Dr. Manette and his daughter in the weeks before Lucy's marriage to Charles Darnay.
Are you happy, my dear father?
My child, I never thought I should live to know such happiness.
An occasional visitor to their house in Soho Square was Sidney Carton. He was not improved in habits, or in looks, or in manner. His air of debauchery was as if, even more pronounced, and it seemed to me that he was behaving with even less delicacy than usual when he presented himself one afternoon, only a few days before Lucy's marriage, and asked to see Miss Manette alone. He was shown upstairs.
Miss Manette, will you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Colton.
Miss Manette, I know very well that you can have no tenderness for me. I ask for none. I'm even thankful that it cannot be.
Without it, is there nothing I can do for you, Mr. Colton?
All you can ever do for me is done. I wish you to know that in the last dream of my soul, in my degradation, I've not been so degraded, but at the sight of you with your father and of this house, the stirred old shadows that I thought had died out of me. A dream, all a dream that ends in nothing and leaves the sleeper where he lay down. But I wish you to know that you inspired it.
Will nothing of it remain?
No, Miss Manette. No. No, I shall never be better than I am. I'm like one who died young. All my life. Might have been. Don't be afraid. I'll never refer to this again, only in the hour of my death I shall hold sacred this one good remembrance. That my last avowal of myself was made to you, and that my name and faults and miseries were gently carried in your heart. Do you believe this of me, Miss Manette?
I do.
And this, too, believe. For you and for any dear to you, I would do anything. Remember sometimes. Remember that there is a man who would give his life to keep a life you love beside you. Goodbye, Lucy. Goodbye.
Paris, 1789, July 14. In the quarter of Saint Antoine, something is happening. In the narrow, mean streets, smelling of rags and nightcaps and hunger, all-night crowds have been stirring. Soon after dawn, Madame Defarge puts down her knitting.
Defarge, at last it has come.
Yes, our day has come.
Saint Antoine this morning is a vast, dusky mass of scarecrows heaving to and fro, with gleams of light above the billowy heads, where steel blades and bayonets shine in the sun. Now the mass begins to move.
Patriots and friends, we are ready. To the Bastille.
The living sea rises, wave on wave, depth on depth, overflowing the city. After 2 hours, a white flag from within the fortress. The sea rises wider and higher, over the lower drawbridge, past the massive stone outer walls, in among the 8 great towers surrender.
The prisoner! The secret cell! The instrumental door! The prisoner! The secret cell!
The North Tower. What is the meaning of 105 North Tower? Quick. It is a cell, citizen. Show it to me. There is something hidden there that I must find. Pass this way, Citizen Defarge.
3 years go by. The King of France and the Queen of France have paid with their lives for the suffering of the people. Day after day, fresh victims are driven through the streets of Paris to feed this new monster which lives on human blood, the guillotine. And at its foot, day after day, sit the women, knitting. London, 1792. The headquarters and the great gathering place of those who fled from France in those troubled years was Tellson's Bank.
Letter for Marquis de Saint-Aubin.
Here.
Vicomte de Lille. Vicomte de Lille.
Arrested at Calais. Executed.
Baron de Neuville.
Arrested. Executed.
Marquis de Saint-Evremont. Marquis de Saint-Evremont.
Here.
Mr. Darnay.
I'll take it.
Charles Darnay. I didn't know that you were familiar
I'll take
with...
charge of the letter, Mr. Lorry.
You know where to deliver it?
I do. If there's any answer, I'll let you know. Monsieur, heretofore the Marquis Charles de Saint-Evremont. I have been seized and brought to Paris. The crime for which I am to lose my life is, they tell me, treason against the majesty of the people, in that I have acted against them for an emigrant. You are that emigrant. It is in vain that I tell them that even before the confiscation of emigrant property, according to your commands, I had collected no rent and forced no taxes. Their only answer is that I have acted for an emigrant. Where is that emigrant? I beg you, Monsieur heretofore the Marquis, to come to my rescue and release me. I pray you, be true to me, your poor servant.
Yes, Darnay?
I have the answer to that letter.
So soon?
It is to a prisoner in the La Force prison in Paris.
And what is the message?
Simply that he has received the letter and will come.
3 days later, a few leagues out of Calais, on the Paris road, Charles Darnay was arrested.
Citizen, I beg you to observe that I came here of my own free will, in answer to that written appeal that lies before you. Is that not my right?
Right? Immigrants have no rights. You're consigned, Evremont, to the prison of La Conciergerie.
Just heaven, under what law? For what offense?
We have new laws, aristocrat, and new offenses since you were here.
News reached London through a secret agent of Tellson's Bank that Charles Darnay was in prison, in danger of death. 3 days later, we were in Paris. Lucy with her child and Dr. Manette. Come in.
Good evening, citizen. Do you know me?
I've seen you somewhere.
Perhaps at my wine shop.
I noticed standing in the door a heavily built woman, silently knitting. Madame Defarge?
Yes,
That she may be able to recognize the faces and know the person.
it is for their safety.
Mr. Lorry.
Lucy, this man has a letter for you from Charles.
Oh, thank you. Dearest, take courage. I am well, and your father has influence around me. You cannot answer this. Kiss our child for me.
Is that his child?
Yes, madam. This is the prisoner's little child.
It is enough, my husband. I have seen them. We may go.
Oh, Madame.
Yes, aristocrat.
Madame, you will be good to my husband. You will help him to see me to see him if you can.
What is it that your husband says in that little letter? Influence, no. He says something about influence.
He says,
Perhaps it will release him.
as a wife and a mother, I implore you to have pity on me. My husband is innocent.
The wives and mothers we have been used to see have not been greatly pitied. All our lives we have seen our women suffer. Poverty, hunger, thirst, sickness, misery.
We have seen nothing else.
We have borne this a long time. Is it likely the trouble of one wife and mother would be much to us now? Goodbye, aristocrat.
Call Donny! Charles Avermont! Call Donny!
Prisoner, is it true that you have lived many years in England?
That is true.
Then you are an immigrant?
No, citizen judge.
Prisoner, why did you return to France when you did?
I returned to France on the written entreaty of a French citizen to save a French citizen's life. Is that the action of a guilty man? Is that criminal in the eyes of the Republic?
Citizen Dr. Manette, take the stand. Dr. Manette, do you know this prisoner?
I do.
Where did you first make the prisoner's acquaintance?
In England, citizen judge, on my release from long imprisonment. This man is my first friend. For years he has lived in my house, always faithful and devoted to my daughter and myself in our exile. In all the years that I know this man, I, Dr. Manette, for 18 years, prisoner in the Bastille.
Enough! Live, Dr. Manette! Not guilty! Not
Citizens! Wait! This prisoner has been denounced for a crime against the Republic. Before this prisoner is released, I demand in the name of the Republic that this denunciation be read aloud.
Why waste
Charles Everyman called Darnay. Suspected and denounced enemy of the Republic. Aristocrat. One of a family of tyrants. One of a race proscribed. Charles Everyman called Darnay. In right of such prescription, doomed to die.
Was the accused denounced openly or secretly?
Openly, President.
By whom?
3 voices. First, Ernest Defarge, winebender of Saint Antoine.
Good.
Second, Therese Defarge, his wife.
Good.
Third, Alexander Manette, physician.
I protest. This is a forgery and a fraud. The accused is the husband of my daughter, who says that I denounced the husband of my child.
Citizen Manette, be still. If the Republic should demand of you the sacrifice of your child, you would have no duty but to sacrifice her. Be silent!
On the 14th of July, 1789, at the taking of the Bastille, a paper was found by Citizen Ernest Defarge, concealed between 2 stones in the chimney of a cell known as 105 North Tower. The writing is the writing of Dr. Manette. I, Alexander Manette.
Let it be read!
I, Alexander Manette, unfortunate physician, write this melancholy paper in my doleful cell in the Bastille. Hope is quite departed from my heart. I go down and to the last of their race, I, Alexander Manette, unhappy prisoner, do this last night of the year, 1767, in my unbearable agony, denounce to the times when all those things shall be answered for. I denounce them to heaven and earth. Death!
All day, tumbrils go through the streets, feeding the guillotine, and at its foot, splashed with blood, sit the women knitting late into the night, counting dropping heads.
Don't be alarmed, Mr. Lorry. Don't be alarmed. I'm quite sober.
Sidney Carton.